Because one of the things that we have been saying that Nigeria needs to do better is to increase the amount of electricity is generating from renewable sources. Nigeria is blessed with abundant renewable resources, sun.
On our interview segment, Director, Center for Climate Change and Development at Alex Ekwueme Federal University, Ebonyi State, Professor Chukwumerije Okereke, assesses the environment sector under former President Muhammadu Buhari. He also made some recommendations on the way forward.
Thank you so much, Prof, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so you have been in this sector for quite a while. Could you help us do an analysis of what you think the Buhari administration did well? Let's start with the good first in the environment sector since the inception of this administration that is right now.
Thank you very much. Of course, I would not want to comment on Buhari's performance over the last 8 years in general terms. But in the specific area of environment, he has done quite well. In fact, some people think that he should be called the climate change president because of the effort that he has put into driving climate ambition in Nigeria. So it was under his administration that Nigeria submitted what we call the nationally determined contribution, which was done in 2015. The nationally determined contribution is a document that outlines how, as a country, we wish to tackle climate change, but also grow our economy. It was under his administration that we had the first and the second green bond, which raised millions of dollars each. One, I think, 15 million, and the other one about $30 billion. Naira, sorry. And it was under his administration that we revised our NDC, Nationally Determined Contribution, which was submitted more recently, in 2021. And it was under his administration that Nigeria, inherited the presidency of the Great Green Wall. And more recently, we have the net zero target, which he announced at COP26 in Glasgow. And it was under his administration that Nigeria wrote up an ETP, Energy Transition Plan. And it was under his administration that Nigeria started the Deep Decarbonization Project, which I'm running, which is offering a range of different pathways through which Nigeria could achieve its net zero target while also growing its economy. And it has to also be stated that one of the things that he did well was when, I think in his first coming, he appointed a very dynamic Amina Mohammed as the Minister for Environment. Amina, of course, was very instrumental to the first and the second National Green Bond. And then I think also allowing Ms. Sharon Ikazo to drive the National Climate Change Bill, which eventually became a National Climate Change Act, was a big achievement. So that means that Nigeria is one, if not the only country in Africa that has a national framework written into law for tackling climate change and growing economy. So he's done quite a lot in the area of climate change and environment. So I really congratulate him.
All right, that said, Prof, some will say, yeah, these achievements could be on paper. What you talked about, naturally determined contribution to climate change act, the climate change council, all of them good and well, but how impactful, positively has this been on the lives of the people? We still have ecological problems that threatening all parts of the country. To the southeast, you have them dealing with volume erosion. You come to the north, deforestation is also a big one there for the people. And then you see flooding every year. Only last year, 2022, Nigerians could not move around during the rainy season because of floods. And people are saying this, nothing much has been done to deal with the situation. A lot of people were displaced, a lot of homes submerged and all that. So these are achievements on paper. How did they impact on the lives of the people in the years?
I'm afraid I have to agree with you that the policy documents and legal instruments that I have mentioned, although they are quite significant, have not really translated so much to actual on-the-ground projects to impact the life of people positively. And let's not also forget that you can add to that the fact that it was also under Buhari's administration that we had a massive, we continue to have massive deforestation despite the promises that many millions of trees would be planted. And we also had the continuous movement of the headers down the south, with the headers clashing with the farmers with very limited effort to address that. And then, of course, you mentioned the flooding, the desertification, the erosion, etc. So yes, you're right. We haven't, or he hasn't done really as much as he possibly could to translate these policy documents into critical action. There's a little bit of effort that we see, especially in the REA, the Rural Electrification Authority, because one of the things that we have been saying that Nigeria needs to do better is to increase the amount of electricity is generating from renewable sources. Nigeria is blessed with abundant renewable resources, sun, wind, geothermal, hydro, but we haven't been able to tap as much as possible as we could from here. So we could also give him a little bit of credit there because the Energizing Education Program had allowed the REA the opportunity to actually allow or fund a number of Nigerian universities to be able to generate their electricity from solar. My university is one example. So the Alex Ekwueme Federal University in Dufa-Like, Nigeria, now sources 100% of its electricity from renewable, courtesy of the Energizing Education Program. And there are a few other universities that are already completed or very close to. But you're right that there is still so much gap between the pronouncements, the policy statements, and action on the ground. And here, I think, is where the incoming government needs to put a lot of emphasis and attention.
So as an expert in the field, sometimes you say, okay, Buhari we know is a major general, or was a major general at the time. He is not an environmentalist. So all he needed to was to get the right people at the right places to get things done. So what would you prefer as what the government, incoming minister, of course this one is gone already. So what would you prefer as how best specifics that the government, incoming government, would deal with some of this issue to ensure the desired impact is made on the people?
Well, you actually provided the answer in your question. The number one thing the incoming government must do is to put square pegs in square holes, or round pegs in round holes, i.e., to ensure that they find people who know the onions, who understand the issue, who have capacity and capability, the skill set, the leadership skills to understand, to master, and to drive the agenda. I gave you an example of Dr. Amina Mohammed, that in my view, Nigeria made significant progress with the first and the second national green bond, in my view, mostly because of Dr. Amina Mohammed's leadership. The fundamental challenge that the incoming government will face is if they go and appoint just anyhow person.